Live Deep Dive, episode 7.
Woohoo!
Jumping the shark!
There's been 7 of these?
This is the 7th one, believe it or not.
Pretty awesome.
Siete.
Isn't Siete 6? Oh, no,
No,
that's
that would be
6.
6. Come on,
And now I
man.
live in California, too.
7. There you are.
7. Ooh, I'm flashing gang signs.
No, it's do it in binary, dude.
Oh, okay. Well, I can't count that high. So, real quickly, tonight's broadcast is brought to you by the Merry Prankster.
I'm dying for episode 11.
One of my favorite little Belgian hoppy beeries.
Oh, right on.
Prankster, that is awesome. Prankster is awesome.
Great stuff for $6.99 in a giant ass bottle that people might think that you look like an alcoholic for drinking from, but it is a pleasant little Belgian ale. So
just ignore those judgmental people and their sad, pathetic lives.
Yeah, I want to clarify something. Look, having a large bottle of alcohol does not make you an alcoholic. Having a recycling bin full of large bottles of alcohol might make you an alcoholic.
Yeah, I was going to say, Gabriel,
okay, I would just.
People don't think you're an alcoholic because
I would like to further clarify.
So I would like to clarify for any future and current employers that we are not alcoholics.
Doesn't matter.
We're
It's legal.
drunk. Alcoholics go to meetings.
Yeah.
What do you think this is?
We're not alcoholics, we're drunks. Alcoholics go to meetings.
I literally have like a 3 or 4 trash bags full of wine corks, because every cork, every bottle we've drank at the house, we kept the cork. And I wanted to do this cool a floor that was wine corks, or like a wall that was all wine corks. And I realized I have enough corks to do the entire house. I probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I've seen the beer bottle top tables and stuff. Those can be pretty cool if you've got a cool
Actually, I was
collection.
going to get into the business of making cork dildos.
That's horrible, but they would float in case of a flood.
Cork is a rare item right now. I mean, it's worth money. Cork recycling. There's only so many cork
that'll
trees.
probably make the dildos more valuable.
They'll float too.
Plus, imagine the awesome popping sound they would make.
Oh, man.
So, a full 2 minutes into the broadcast,
sorry, am I on the right hangout?
Went there.
I disassociate from that.
So the one viewer we had just dropped.
Yeah, it was Amy. She was like, I'm out.
No, she's probably trying to join.
All right. Well, let's keep
so anyway,
it
keeping with the emphasis of this episode, because I just used that word incorrectly. Tonight's episode is about jumping the shark or jumping ship. I apologize for the children and animals.
And it's not jumping the shark of cork. It's work.
It's work, right? It's like at some point you get to a time in your career or a period in the employer that you work for currently where you're just like, dude, I'm just done. I'm ready to go. What are my next steps? And that's really what we're kind of talking about tonight. We're going to kind of just hash out. It's like, how do you broach that subject?
Free life counseling for Gabe is basically what this is.
Shut your hole. No,
So,
but you know what? I'll tell you right now, every one of you has been in this experience where you're like, yeah, you know what, things just kind of suck dicks, and I need some advice on
How do I get out?
How do I get out? When do I jump? Can I leave money on the table? Can I, do it and not burn a bridge? Can I, cause personally for me, I have a severe amount of loyalty to whatever organization I work for, and I actually feel bad if I feel like I
Even when they don't have loyalty to you.
Oh yeah, it doesn't. That part. Just
Because loyalty is not a business decision.
Yeah.
So, just technical note, Gabe, your mouth actually ends up being in your bottom third.
My mouth is in the bottom third. When I sit down like this.
Phrasing.
I'm gonna move the camera.
There you are.
down.
Yeah, it's like you're hiding, you're doing a Kilroy behind your bottom third.
I've had this, just for the record, because this Love and Rocket, this shirt has a big hole in it. I've had this Love and Rocket shirt since junior year of high school. No, 89. And
Did you make out with someone in that shirt the first time, and you just haven't been able to let go of the shirt?
No, it's just really comfortable.
Is that kind of like your blue dress with the stain on it?
It is. It is. It's my blue dress.
Oh.
It's my Monica shirt.
Nasty.
Fucking fool, you bastard.
I'm starting to think Saturday Night Live Deep Dive is jumping the shirt.
You're getting on me. You guys are getting on me for an adult relationship. Meanwhile, Carlson over there is popping corks.
Yeah. So maybe it's time to leave this podcast.
Yeah. We know this podcast is not the shark.
Oh, yeah, a whole 7 episodes. I mean, I'll tell you right now, it's like we tried to get this episode going for like 4 weeks, and then it was like 4th of July, vacations, somebody, had broke their kidney. It was, and tonight we're kind of light on members, but I finally got enough people on here to get this thing up and running, because at first it was just me and Josh, and obviously Josh and I could talk about this shit all night, so just want to have a more diversity of opinion.
With regard to the subject, and you were talking about feeling loyalty, my opinion is that feel loyalty to your friends and perhaps even coworkers if they're truly good people. Don't have any loyalty to the company, because the company you work for would run down its own grandma in a parking lot to make an extra penny a quarter.
Well,
sometimes. Because
okay.
I'll tell you right now, there may be the difference with a very, very large organization. With a very small organization, I think it's different, right? When there are only 45 or 60 people in the company, that's more of a family, or even up to 300. When it's HP and your employee 300,001, it's probably a little bit different.
Well, I wouldn't just call out any specific company. I would say any publicly traded company.
Well,
right?
Yeah, I see that part, right? Because in the beginning, when it's a smaller organization, everybody's like wearing 5 or 6 hats. You're working 18 to 20 hours a day, 6 days a week. It's a different story compared to you work in the division of Global Corp.
Right.
That's Mike. Mike's avatar is the Homer Simpson shark jumping.
Oh, so the question needs to be asked though is does loyalty really, is that any type of requirement or expectation? I mean, should we really truly expect some level of loyalty? I mean, we've even had the discussion on here before about travel and things like that. I mean, when it comes down to it, right, we're aligned with a job. We're paid to do that job. We do the work. They give us pay, right? Why? I mean, humans have a tendency towards loyalty, and I guess we just have our own natural expectations. But I don't know. I've kind of felt that I just assume that I try to make myself as little as disposable as possible, but
it should never be blind loyalty. It should never be blind loyalty. It's
right.
If you're loyal to something because you think it's something that's worth being loyal to, there's a good reason to stay. If you're loyal to it because it's your job, then that's blind loyalty. And the same should work the other way around. If they think that you're doing something valuable for them, there's a good reason to stick around. And if you're doing what you think is valuable work and they don't value it, then maybe things aren't
right. I mean, when I look at, and I've had a couple of situations where I've made the decision that it was time for me to move on, and typically what it has come down to is the work that I'm doing and the relationship I have with the company. Do I feel like this is a mutually beneficial relationship? right? Do I feel that what I'm providing is beneficial to the company, and do I feel like the company is providing what I feel like I need at this point in my career, or commensurate to whatever I'm putting in, you know,
That was a
into it.
lot of feels, Josh. There was a lot of feels there. I didn't
Well,
know
Josh,
you
you,
were
Josh
I
is
didn't,
field.
I didn't feel anything.
I may be soulless, but I'm not emotionless.
That's what she said.
Well, no, but I mean, I will back Josh on this one because I think that personally, it's like um, I tend to drink the Kool-Aid. I join the group, I get behind it, especially if I'm passionate about the mission, the company, the people that are involved. You can get kind of caught up in that, right? And you can run with it outside what your normal balance for pretty much anything else outside of what you do for a job would be. And then at some point you kind of come, like, a reality block will just kind of come and smack you in the head. You're like, oh my God, I've completely changed my identity to be this corporate shill or corporate tool. And I never want to get to that point. When I do, I want to kind of step back and take a look. And so, there's a careful balancing act that we have to kind of straddle as we, get either longer or more longevity with the company that we work for, or higher up within the organization. Because if you're a little lower on the totem pole, it's not such a big deal. But as you start to climb that corporate ladder, you really do kind of have to buy in and be kind of part of the message and part of the story of the organization, or at least that's how I see it.
I don't disagree. I mean, that's the going back to Josh's and Damien's point. That's the loyalty to a cause that you think is worthwhile, and it's the case where you start thinking the case is not worthwhile or the cause is not worthwhile, that you shouldn't maintain your loyalty.
Well, there's that, and then there's you get to a point where either you're not getting the feedback you desire, you don't get you don't feel like the value of your input, your contribution is being appropriately addressed, and then we've all, I mean, at least for me, I know I've been in the situation where you start to kind of check out. You kind of get to this point where it's like, F it, man. I'm going to kind of coast here for a bit, figure out what I want to do, start to talk to some others, other organizations, other companies, whatever it might be, and you kind of take on
2 years later.
2 years later, maybe you become a little more negative. Maybe you're not as engaged as you once were. A smart manager should pick up on that, I would think. I guess it just also depends on the corporate culture.
So let me jump in on that with something that I think is very relevant in this part of the discussion. And I've had this conversation with people in discussing their career. You can sit in a role and go in and say and have all these ideas and have all this input and have all these things that you're trying to promote up because you think that it's valuable to the company and it's going to improve things. But the fact of the matter is if you haven't communicated with your management and expressed to them that you have an interest in providing that input and being a part of the decision process and being a part where your job is to provide that input, then that's all you, right? If you haven't set yourself up in the organization to where you are a person that has not necessarily a responsibility or is looked to for input, then you're just giving up input, right? And as far as the company is concerned, they're like, well, that's cool, but we never asked you for input, right? So you have to be careful when saying, like, well, I've been giving input and I've been trying to make things better, and it's falling on deaf ears. I'm like, well, that's because a lot of times the ears didn't know to listen, right? They didn't know that you seriously wanted to be heard.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very valid point. I think that you need to take an opportunity in multiple instances to basically come out and say, it's like, this is where I see things not working, or this is where I see changes need to be made. And you can't just say it once. You can't send an email. You kind of have to be a honey badger about it, man. You got to really kind of come out there and constantly be in the face, and to a point where it's like you're almost annoying.
Yeah, well, I don't necessarily think that's the case either. I mean, if you're in that type of situation, then you have a communication breakdown somewhere, because what it really comes down to is that and I've been in this situation where I wanted to be in a role where I had greater influence and impact and the ability to affect meaningful change to the organization or the company, right? I felt that the role I was in, I didn't have the audience that I needed in order to express things that I had been told were significant, contributions. So I expressed to my managers and their managers that I needed to find an opportunity that would allow me to do that. That was part of what I was doing. And in the end, nothing really opened up for me to do that, and so I left, right? I'm like, I feel that I'm underutilized. I have feedback that says that I'm helpful to these different organizations. I'd like to get myself into a role somewhere else in the company that I can provide this feedback as my job. And that was my approach, and that was how I knew it was time to leave, right? When I realized that there wasn't a place for me to go that would allow me to do that. So you got to take ownership of that, right? And if you're in a company where you're not getting audience and you're not getting the feedback, well, that's a sign, right?
Right. Yeah. If you're constantly bringing it up, you're constantly making that discussion, and an answer never comes about, then the decision is being made for you to an extent.
Yes.
Well, you're still left with a choice.
Well, yeah, you can make the choice, but also I think it's kind of like if you sit down and lay out your pros and cons sheet, that should be like the big one, the big thing that rises to the top, right? Pros and cons. Thank you, Damien.
Phrasing.
Voila!
Yeah, I mean, in the end, the key takeaway is that you can't just say, well, I've been providing feedback, right? Because if you're yelling in an empty room, then who's there to hear, right? You kind of have to establish a conversation before you start yelling at people. Otherwise, they just look at you like you're crazy. So before using that as your mechanism to say, okay, I'm leaving because nobody listens to me and I'm upset about that, well, you have to look and say, have I actually established a conversation and a communication to where I have a channel for truly soliciting feedback?
No, I think that's great input. Because sometimes myself included, I think others, you kind of get caught up in things. You may not voice your opinion strong enough because sometimes you feel like, honestly, those of us who kind of grew up in the tech industry in the end user space, very rarely were you able to actually give honest input and feedback to your bosses without fear of repercussion. And I think in the vendor space, that's completely different, right? You can actually say, hey, go F yourself. That's stupid, and you can actually have a discussion around that, right? That input will be taken at a much higher level of understanding than it would be if, I just went and told my boss, it's like, hey, you want to go to this particular product or whatever, go fuck yourself, it's stupid,
Well,
that's all good to say to your boss.
Yeah. Well, the challenge
but you
there.
should be able to say that.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
In more subtle terms, right?
So Gabe, the trick there is not in how you say it. It's in that you have to make sure that if you're going to make a suggestion or express a dissenting opinion on something, that you do it in such a way that it shows alignment with that manager's objectives or that manager's MBOs or that manager's whatever his KPIs or whatever it is that manager cares about. you have to put it in a perspective that affects him, because in the end, that's what we all care about, right? How does it affect
That's his
our ability
motivation.
to do our jobs? Right. So
Right.
if you want to
That's
be
his
effective
motivation.
yeah, there's a great book out there that I read long ago. It's Influence Without Authority, I think is the name of it, and it talks a lot about that. Let's see if that was the name of it, but I think it is Without Authority. It's not an awesome book, but it's a decent book. And if nothing else, it kind of helps you wrap your head around if you want to influence people. Actually, somebody did read it to me. It was an audiobook, so
I
I think
just
it was,
had to ask.
And
yeah, I
it
think
has
it
a
was
second edition, so
I think it was
there
the
you go.
author that read it. Yeah, Alan Cohen and David Bradford or something like that. Anyway, there's the Audible book.
Cha-ching! Please send us money.
Victor Bevine or whatever. But the trick there is that what you're talking about in that situation is you want to influence, you want to have your opinions heard. Well, in order to get people to listen, you have to give them incentive to listen, and that doesn't necessarily mean bribing them, or you just have to align it with something that they're already thinking about, right? Because if it's something that's already in their mind, you essentially attach your idea to that thought. And then guess what? Now it's part of their thought. And I dropped the mic.
So Josh, have you ever seen From the Earth to the Moon, the Tom Hanks HBO series?
Yes,
Yes.
good stuff.
Okay.
What's it?
From the Earth to the Moon.
What's it about?
So, you wouldn't have any idea. Yeah.
It's about little girls and corks.
Yeah, that's not appropriate coming from you right now, Mike.
A small man learns to make tortillas in his backyard. One looks like the Earth, one looks like the Moon.
So there's actually an episode there where they cover some of the engineering project about the lunar module, and it's not so much having the ability to go in and tell people, hey, I think this is a good idea. It's much more the ability to go in and show them, hey, here's a good idea. And that's an awful lot of where my world is, where it's if you go prototype something and do an initial development and you can say, hey, we can do this. It's a lot different than just sitting around bullshitting. And
right. So that does two things.
Like we're doing right now.
Yes, exactly. Like we're doing.
Yeah. So that method is successful for two reasons.
I do not have a VI window open right now.
One of the reasons that works is that you've put time into it, which shows that you have some meat behind it. You have significant interest behind it. The other part of it is by prototyping and putting thought into it, you kind of get ahead of the questions or rebuttals that you'll get, or you actually work through some of that stuff so that, well, guess what? When you go in to have that conversation, you already know they're going to ask about, can you do it with duct tape? Yeah, I can do it with duct tape like a baller, right? And here I can show you how.
Yep. I can do it with duct tape and chewing gum.
Like a baller.
Like a boss. Not that you necessarily want to, but you could, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's completely fair.
Right. So I see Damien took my tall comment too literally.
Oh, it's because he's a girl.
Did he leave? Oh.
Oh, no, I think he's probably refilling something.
I can't get Mike to go away on the screen.
Or emptying something.
So here's one. Obviously, if you're thinking about leaving the org or the company or whatever, it's like almost leaving a relationship for the most part. Is the grass greener on the other side? It always looks really attractive when you start to talk or have discussions with another organization or organizations as a whole. you get into that romance phase, and obviously that can kind of cloud your judgment. It's sometimes you can kind of step back and kind of really, think about, is this the right move or not? Obviously, it is like dating to an extent. Because you're getting into a relationship with somebody. It's the company. It's who's going to pay your salary. It's the organization you're going to work with. It's where your career is going to focus, and it could be something that is, a 3-month period, or it could be like, 15 years. It's what are your thoughts on that? All right, how do you temper that, that first date syndrome?
I'll let somebody else answer first, and then I'll recite a blog post from December. Going once.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Going twice. All right, fine.
Let's go.
All right, so the real trick there is that before you make that leap and before you start engaging in those, essentially before you start getting on the dating scene again, and putting your profile out there on the dating sites, right? Before you do that, you really have to take a very introspective time and identify things that actually truly matter to you. Like, does it matter that you have influence in the organization? Does it matter that you're traveling a lot? Does it matter that you're in a lab a lot? Does it matter that you have a boss that lets you do whatever you want whenever you want? Right? Identify the things that really make the way you work and make you feel like the work that you're doing makes you happy. Right? Gives you that good balance. Once you kind of do that, you also identify the things that you like to do and the things that you absolutely abhor doing.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I just hate doing this. Right? You make those lists, and then everything that you look at, you read between the lines, and you kind of stack up and say, how does this stack up with my list? And before long, it makes making a decision very simple. Right? It's like when you look at my transition to SolidFire, I didn't shop around a lot. I didn't really need to, because it hit so many of the things on my list that I honestly had never seen an opportunity come up that hit so many things on my list at one time. I'm like, I have to make this transition, because
for you it was kismet, right? There was just this perfect synergy between.
Well, I didn't say it was perfect, but it was
perfect enough in our industry, right? Where it's like, it hit 7 out of 12. And that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing, right? A year and a half ago, it wouldn't have. Right?
Sure.
Because a year and a half ago, VCE was. I'll just ...
No. Listen. It has nothing. It has nothing to do with VCE.
It wasn't where it is today.
Yeah.
Or where it'll be tomorrow.
There's, what they're alluding to is, there is a lure of going to the large or the stable organization, the people with the deep pockets, with the resources. They're looking to spin up a product or push something. It's like versus that, it's like the 12,000 person company versus the 24 people company. It's a risk reward type of thing. I personally myself, the risk portion of it is almost like a little bit of a drug, right? You kind of come in, it's like, oh wow, yeah, I can go to a smaller portion, I can get in earlier on the lower of the ground floor, or do I go to an organization where I'm employee 300,000 and I make no impact at all? But then that may not even be the case, because even with a very large organization, you can make an impact if you push hard enough, possibly, or if you you work within the bounds of the goals or the structure that they have. I don't think that somebody who goes to HP or IBM or Dell or EMC is so insignificant that they cannot make an impact either on the immediate space that they work in or on the company as a whole. And those are very real. When we work in technology, it's different than a lot of other organizations where we actually do have the ability to impact the direction of a product or even a company, even if you are at the bottom of the barrel, in terms of where you may think your role may lie.
So last year, I kind of had a personal epiphany after going through a number of big life changes, and that epiphany was that my job isn't really there for me to get personal satisfaction. And what I mean by that is the point of me working is not whether or not it gets me off, for lack of a better phrase. The point of me working is being able to provide for myself and my children in a way that I can give them the best life that I'm able. And if that means that I end up working a job that doesn't hit on all cylinders for me, but it still allows me to provide better, then I think that's a better choice, right? I also love things like corporate American Express, amazing benefits that are cheap, etc. But even though I had that realization, frankly, when I took the job that I'm in now, it was a big stretch from where I had been before, from a hands-on tech perspective. And I thought it was going to be cool to get that additional experience on the resume, but I also knew that I was going to miss the hands-on stuff. But in a very short period of time, I ended up finding the passion. So what I had thought on the onset of, it might be okay, but it really kind of sounds a little bit boring, I've actually found a lot of passion and been able to kind of create that enjoyment. So I don't really know if there's any lessons there.
The main lesson is give anything 6 months.
Yeah.
You can get mad about it to begin with, but give anything 6 months. I mean, remember when Jon Snow became steward for Mormont, he was really, really offended and mad about that, but that worked out pretty well for him.
It did until he...
Well, no spoilers.
Wait, is that some kind of Doctor Who thing? Because I've just not followed
It's Game of Thrones.
It's Game of Thrones. But I was going to say spoilers, Sweetie, which is a Doctor Who reference, but I don't call Josh Sweetie, except in Vegas. Except in Vegas.
Something like this.
He's your gingerbread man.
Wow, I'm sorry. I was just trying to just slightly.
I was trying to class up the place and all this stuff.
And then you guys just drive the bus off the cliff.
All of a sudden there was a masturbation reference.
Yeah.
I really, really worry about you guys sometimes.
We're broken.
We worry about you too as well, Josh.
Yeah.
You just stuffed me Lucky Charms.
So
did you see the little clip of yourself in movie 43?
I did. Thank you for sharing.
Was that the kids in the copier?
No.
Oh, hell no. No.
That was, they captured a leprechaun and had it trapped in the basement.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And then he goes beast on him.
I've still yet to watch that movie. I just can't do it.
It's a disturbing movie. It really is.
You should watch it with the kids.
So you mean that it's like it's a family fun night movie, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No.
The way you tend to talk around your kids, it probably just wouldn't even faze them.
Thank you, Jamie. Hey, they're going to hear the F-bomb at some point in their lives.
Yeah, it might as well be right this minute.
That's a little something we call parenting.
Well, you're only a good parent if you're introducing it to them first, right?
Exactly.
So,
hey, did you guys see the article I actually sent out about the kids who went down to watch the Apollo 11 launch?
No, I'm digging that up.
I'd been meaning to.
It was on Twitter. It was.
Oh, it was on Twitter. Oh shit.
I sent it out on Twitter today. It was a kind of cool article where a handful of kids from the New Hampshire area, the place that I don't live but I spend way too much time in, hopped a plane and went down to Florida and watched the Apollo 11 launch, and went down without hotel rooms or dinner reservations or anything like that, and slept on the beach and had a good time. and it's like,
It's in the chat.
oh, okay, thanks. It doesn't happen anymore.
I'm
What?
confused. What doesn't
Watching-
happen anymore?
Watching like a spacecraft lift off.
Oh, I mean, I remember I was in boot camp.
No, going off and just doing unstructured, away from home fun.
Well, it's because there's perverts out there.
Oh.
I'm not everywhere.
Especially in the East Coast. No, I mean, here's the
I
funny thing. It's
disagree, Andy. Everybody has Yelp.
Well, there is acceptable perversity and universally unacceptable perversity.
I will tell you right now, I mean, this is a small, bizarre tangent, but when I was 12,
What's new?
what else is new? When I was 10, 11, 12, I would just take the bus and go places and do whatever I wanted. You know, if there was an article, or I read some article, some lady who let her daughter go play at the park while she was at work, and the girl was 9 years old.
She got
And
arrested.
like, she got arrested for letting her kid play at the park by herself. I'm like, dude, I was riding the fucking bus and going 40 miles from home and just kind of like exploring when I was that age. And
So
at today you go to jail for that? Really?
At 9, I was doing the same thing on a bicycle, not a bus.
Yeah.
I got my first real road bike around 10 years old, and I just took off.
Was it one of those bicycles with the equal size wheels, or with the giant front one and the small one in the back?
Hey, I had that bike.
No, it was a Tour de France bike.
Three-speed. It was a 3-speed bike, and you could shift on it. It had a banana seat, and it was the bomb. Do not knock that bike.
Yeah, so, Damien, I don't think I'm that much older than you.
Yeah, I know. You're probably not.
Yeah, Andy's 11.
11.
Honestly, though, Damien is younger than I am.
So, how does this relate to our topic?
Because it's 10:30
Because we're
Central,
talking bicycles, and we're going to go jump the shark.
and we've all had a few drinks.
Yeah, and it's 11:30 Eastern, and
Mike Foley says that Lego Empire has been awfully quiet.
Yeah, well, trying to get a word in edgewise, all right. So the whole thing about when is it time? I mean, I've been in a number of situations where, huh?
I think it's time when you get fired.
I was only fired once. I was 15.
Okay.
No,
I'm
17.
just teasing. Sorry.
No, I worked at Deck for 18 years, so I've already done the loyalty thing, right?
so
The
you're
second
probably older
longest
than I am.
job I had.
Yeah, dude, you're older than all of us.
Oh yeah, I'll be 53 in July. Dead silence.
Yeah. I started at Deck when I was 12 years old.
You don't look a day over 52.
No, Mike, I will say, Mike,
Thanks.
you don't look 53.
Well, that's because I have hair. But no, I did 18 years at Deck, and then the second longest time I had was at RSA for 7 years. And there were a number of times, both at Deck and RSA and other places, that I felt stuck in the job and not being listened to, not being valued, and it wasn't until I got much further along in my career that it was, I just need to find a way to get the hell out.
Sorry. I'm not laughing at you. I just saw something really funny. I apologize, Mike. Seriously.
You're watching porn again, aren't you?
I wouldn't be laughing. I would be.
You're watching midget porn, aren't you?
I wouldn't be
He's
laughing.
sweating.
I would be fapping.
No, good Lord. No, Mike. I'm sorry. I meant no disrespect. Somebody texted me something funny, and I just lost it.
Influence. No, that brings
you
me
gotta
to a
share.
point. Though, there was one thing in my my list of notes thing. It's like how many bridges are safe to burn, right? It's are you actually
I
burning the
always
bridge
try
when
to
you
never
leave
burn
an
a bridge.
organization? It's like I make a big point of trying to make this the cleanest break possible, be the most helpful as possible. Hey, I'm here. I'll give you the 2 weeks. All the things is like your new employer is going to understand. Sometimes, it's like we're working for Microsoft where they're basically going to say over the next 6 weeks you may mysteriously be laid off. But, I always want to make sure that, I leave everything happy and, beneficial. And even if over the course of the next several months they need something from me, that I can kind of make some time available for them, right? Because I think that's the right thing to do. Sometimes that's what you're putting that out, and then sometimes the org is basically like, F you, you're dead to us. All access is cut off from the second that they get that notice. And other organizations are like,
Great.
all right, so cool.
Then you get a free vacation.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, the funny
there
part
have
is when
been-
they
there
call
have
you
been-
after that.
It's like, hey, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. Fuck you.
I'm out.
I'm out.
I'm out.
Best.
It's Billy Bong
best
Thornton,
way
man.
ever.
No, man, it's Wesley Pipes.
Somewhere I will work, and that will be the company's corporate theme.
Yeah.
When I work for Dave Matthews.
Yeah, I've never burned a bridge as much as I've wanted to.
I
There
got
have been
fired.
certain individuals I've had to work with that I've just wanted to walk up and either deck them or
Kick them
tell
in the
them
nuts.
publicly,
Oh.
or tell her publicly, F you, you effing F.
Yeah,
But
there's
no, I
nothing
took the
more
high road. I smiled. I said, see you later. And that was it.
Well, I believe in
And when they go
amicable
to try and
breaks.
connect to me on LinkedIn, I go, no.
Wow. Feel the burn.
I
Fuck
sure
you,
assumed
this
them.
one social media platform, you will be denied my
Yeah.
powers.
Just blocked you on Twitter, fool. Stuck on it.
I hope it
Yeah,
hurts.
well, I have had the opportunity come around where
Right.
someone I worked for who treated me like shit was then out looking for a job, and next thing you know, someone's asking me about, oh, do you know so and so? They mentioned your name, and I've been able to drop the, yeah, you don't want to go there. Bomb.
Yeah.
And that,
Run for the fucking
that has
hills,
been lovely.
right? Well,
That
you know,
has been absolutely lovely.
and that's your basic karma, right? You treat other people the way you
Yeah.
want to be treated, and you will occasionally get a chance to basically kind of enjoy that sweet bit of victory, right? And not be a dick about it, but
Karma is a bitch.
I think it's perfectly legitimate to be honest about somebody and say, hey, this guy's a shitbag. You probably wouldn't want to work with him, right? And you're not only doing them a favor, you're doing the company a favor, because guess what? They're going to come on board, they're going to realize they're a shitbag, and then 6 weeks later they're going to get canned, and that's not a benefit to anybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're actually doing the company a favor by letting them know that they're a shitbag. If they really are a shitbag, and you're just not being a dick. But in your case, Mike, I'm not getting that you were a dick. It sounds like you were
and not a
you were on the
shitbag.
wrong-
No, I was being honest.
You were on the wrong end of the dicking.
When has Mike not been a dick?
I did have someone come up to me after I said it's probably not a good idea for that person, and they hired them anyway, and they came back later and said, "Damn it, I should have listened to you."
Dude, you were so right. No, I've had that too, where I've gotten like, hey, we're looking at this guy, and I've got like 6 or 7 messages saying like, dude, you will so fucking regret bringing that person on. I'm like, well, you know what? I'm trying to be, my interaction with them is like, I don't have the history with them. And it's like they come on board, and you're like, fuck. There's nothing worse than like, hey, I'm like, oh god, dude, you were right.
I actually had the opportunity to do that to a former manager who.
Well, there's no pain there.
Yeah.
I think it's great when people shut down other people on your behalf.
That actually helped an awful lot in my circumstance, where I basically told people, no, you don't want to hire this guy. And the person that I worked with at the previous company was sitting right next to me at the time and said, oh, no, you don't want to hire that person. I'm like, yeah, exactly. You get it. I mean, we were just sitting around chatting, and it's like, wait, are you talking about so-and-so? Oh, no, you don't want to hire him.
Yeah.
No,
Wow.
your organization will precede you, right? If you're a bag, people are going to find out, people are going to talk. Especially in the industry we work in, where people do. They're like going to reach out, they're going to check your LinkedIn, they're like, oh, I know this person, I'll call that guy and say, hey, you know what, the story there, right?
Right.
And 5 years ago, that might not have been the case. You would have been a very limited ability to actually understand or know the number of people that they worked with that you had in common, unless you were really tuned into the organization at some level. Today, it's so much easier to go and just check out the profiles. Like, oh, I know that person that works at that company. I can go find out for sure whether this guy is worth bringing on board or not.
Is there a dog humping your furniture?
Good question. Let me see. There's one dog on the couch, and then there's another dog below.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, these are the dog couches in the darkened room upon which they live.
Okay, it looked like maybe he was priming it.
Well, it is leather. It cleans off.
Wow.
The more you know.
Wow. I just really don't want to go on after that.
Says the guy that was talking about corks going pop. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't broach the subject.
I guess we all have our limits.
Yeah, corks going pop are okay, but red rockets are not.
Oh. So
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
So I guess, other question, the counteroffer, right? When you go and talk to the organization that you're looking to leave, saying, hey, I'm going to this organization, it's going to be so much great, awesome bitchiness, and they come back to you with this like, oh, we want to keep you on board, we'll give you this, this, and this. It's been my experience, not just myself, but with having talked to others, it's like, 6 to 12 months later, you're going to be gone anyway. Right?
No, absolutely no, never.
Yeah.
If you made the decision to leave,
shit or get off the pot, right?
Yeah, and it's you've just given notice to the people who are making the counteroffer that you've done two things to them: that you're not interested in staying there, and that you find this certain type of competition interesting. And they've succeeded in two ways in getting you to not go to that competition you found interesting, and secondly, stringing you along until you either get pissed off enough to leave on your own or they dump you.
Mm-hmm.
I actually got a counteroffer.
And the other point of the counteroffer is, well, if I'm that valuable and you're willing to counteroffer for, say 15 grand raise, why didn't you just give it to me the last review cycle?
That is an interesting question. Well, they just had a report on that recently, talking about people's earnings over time, and how people who move jobs every 2 years make 50% more than people who stay at the same job for 8 years or something like that. Mm-hmm. And the net result of it is that what ends up happening is that managers are given certain bundles of money, right? And the fallacy is in that. Right, that the increases are based on a distributed pool rather than directly aligned to value versus value and performance versus compensation, right? Which is why you always make more money when you transition, because part of that that is to lure you there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to make that. And it's been my experience exactly with that. Right, I worked in an organization for 8 years. And I came to the point where it's like, you know what, I'm on my way out the door. Why didn't why didn't you value my input, my skill set while I was here enough to actually make it lucrative enough for me to stay here instead of always being looking for something else? Some companies are going
We
to
didn't have the budget.
Yeah.
So guys,
that's because you didn't want to lose like that $25,000 or $30,000 bonus for keeping these salaries low enough in your organization just to keep people there, right?
Right. So here's been my experience, and you can take it with a grain of salt. I recognize I'm a special case sometimes. I've never received a counteroffer from a company, and usually it's because of two things. One, I don't switch jobs unless I'm going to something that directly aligns to something I've already pre-selected as part of my career growth. And B is because I've always had good communication with my managers about how I want my career to grow. So when that opportunity comes up and I decide to take it, it's one of those, I can't offer you what they're doing. So Godspeed. I wish you well. Thanks for doing such a great job here. And let me know if there's anything I can do to help. And if you can help me find somebody to take your place, that would be great too. Right?
But that fits squarely with why not to accept a counteroffer is that if you're going someplace because it aligns better with what you want to do, then it's not the money that's drawing you. And why would having more money No, I'm not disagreeing with you at all, Josh.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
What I'm saying is my money says that the majority of people who get counteroffers and even consider them are not switching jobs because they feel like the new job really aligns to what they really want. They're doing it to get out of what they're in, and they haven't taken time to look at themselves critically. And that's what that's something that is really challenging for people, to look at themselves critically and say, is it me? Mm-hmm. Is it the company, or is it me?
Yes.
And it's usually you, and that's fine. It's not always you, but it usually is. And that's okay if it's you. It's the trick is identify that it's you, figure out exactly why it's you and what you need to do for the next situation to not be you, and proceed accordingly. Like all of my moves have been very, very calculated. Like I've never said, well, I'm going to go work for that company, or I'm going to go work for that company. But the type of roles I've taken as I've moved through my career have been, I want a role that has these these tasks and require these skill sets, right? And I just kind of wait for things like that to come up. And it changes over time. Like I'm constantly evaluating what I'm doing and where I want to be. And a lot of people don't do that. They're very reactive rather than proactive.
Okay, so I would like to pose a new question for the group. This is something that I've had a lot of questions about in the past. You've been given an offer by a potential new employer. How do you go about asking for more? Because they always lowball, right? They never show up.
Oh yeah, always, every single time.
There's a phase in that negotiation period where you've had a talk with the hiring manager or your potential manager and kind of laid out what you want, right? And then it's outside their control, because those guys don't control the salaries, they don't control what the company is willing to pay. It's when you start to actually talk with the HR people, and what you really need to do is kind of lay out your case, right? There's going to be an initial discussion where you get the offer letter, and then you have that talk with HR, whoever it is, and to make sure that there's a good fit there. And there's going to be some kind of keyword in there, some phrase, and I don't know. It may be different for every organization, but where it's going to be, that's the point to slip in your, I need this, right? And that's what you need to, if what they offered you is below what you're willing to accept, then that's the point where you need to come in and say, I need this. This is the reason why. I'm leaving this on the table at the other org or whatever, and make that case for, because honestly, especially for those of us who work in the sales side of things, you got to grab as much as you can up front in the very beginning.
That goes for every role ever.
Yeah,
No,
that goes for
Well,
any job.
it depends. I'm like, if you're
Absolutely not. That does not go for every role ever.
yeah, because if you're 100% salaried and you're not tied to a number or tied to a deliverable, then
no, it's what I look for is long term. What can you give me long term? And quite honestly, the salary has not been anything that I've ever negotiated at any job I've ever taken. It's what is the long term payoff.
Well, I think there's a discussion with long-term payoff and viability, right? Especially for those of us who've joined smaller startup-type companies, there's a significant gamble there, right? If I take a reduced salary and a whole bunch of equity.
It's a salary and a lottery ticket, and the salary needs to be enough to live on, and the lottery ticket needs to be enough to with chances that it pays off that you're happy with it.
So here's the trick, though, right? I mean, for some people, it's a lot easier. My career path, it's varied. Sometimes I take a job for its long term. Sometimes I take it for short term gains, and a lot of it depends on where I am in my life, right? When I didn't have children, my decision skills were much different. Once I had multiple children, my decision process, like the way things impact, right? Because now for me, steady income is more important than long-term gain because I have more kids, right?
Versus reward.
I have more people that I'm impacting.
That is a self-imposed problem. Self-imposed problem.
Oh, I'm not. No, I'm not denying that. But the thing is that it goes back into that self-awareness and self-evaluation. You have to know that going in. A year and a half ago, would you have told me that I was going to go to a company the size of SolidFire and I was going to be at a startup or a relative upstart startup? I don't know what the classifications or what the requirements are, but would you tell me? I'd be like, no, not a chance. I'm not comfortable with that potential risk. My situation has changed, right? I am comfortable with that risk at this point in time in my life. In 5 years, it may completely change again. I don't know. I have a lot more variables in my life than some people do.
I think most could raise our hand and say we're not going to be at the same company we're either at now or looking to talk to or go to in the next 5 years. The days of 30 years in a watch, those are pretty much gone. I mean, I don't know anybody. And in fact, in some of the more coveted tech positions, Google, Facebook, some of those others, if you have not changed jobs every 3 years, they look at you kind of like, what's wrong? Were you not challenged enough?
How many people in this discussion are wearing a watch?
I don't know what watch. Oh, I have watches upstairs.
But it's a Pebble, and it was $150. So. Okay, so I've heard everything that you guys have said. Taking the minor variances in roles and compensation mix and things like that out of the picture, and just talking about the process of making sure that you're getting as much of what you're looking for, whether that's equity, whether that's salary, whether that's a different mix, etc. My experience has been, for example, this my current job with EMC, there was a rec that was slotted for a certain role, right? There's like pay bands and all those other things. Are you coming in as a senior or an associate or a principal or whatever? And there's pay bands within there. How do you make sure that you're at the top of the band?
So that shouldn't be the goal. You should actually want to come in at the bottom of the band above where you should be.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
So
I'm never at the bottom.
Why would you want to be at the bottom?
You want to come in You want to come in at the bottom of the band of the next level up from where you are today.
Exactly.
So if you're a senior today, you don't want to be coming in at the top of a senior. You want to be coming in at the bottom of a principal.
Exactly.
Right. So
Yep.
how do you go about countering? If they
Well,
give you a number
so,
that meets your needs.
So Damien, here's the trick, right? You have to understand what your value is to them. And if you can understand what your relative value is to them, even better if you know people who are in specific roles that you think that you are equal to or better than, all the better, right? It's all about analysis and information, right? And sometimes it can be just bravado, right? You should never go into a negotiation for a job without being willing to walk away, right? You have to be willing. Doesn't mean you're going to, but you can't negotiate unless there is an exit that involves not willing to accept less. I mean the thing is you can't go in and necessarily be a prima donna and say give me this money because frankly I'm worth it, and you should already know that.
That's how I do it.
HR doesn't.
Yeah, only Josh Atwell can do that.
Yeah.
Only Josh Atwell can get away with that shit.
Yeah, but HR doesn't care. You're just another person.
But then also there's an aspect of sometimes we change roles, sometimes we move into different areas, and they may not be the area or the role that we have a huge amount of background in, right? If you're going to transition from sales engineers to product marketing, there's a different type of pay scale for that particular skill set, right? And it may be something that's completely alien to you, right?
But at the same time, coming in getting hired in at the bottom of whatever you consider the role you should be doing, it is. I mean, you're going to this job for advancement. You're not going there to fill a leather seat.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you're not going there for advancement, then they're probably not interested in you either.
So let me make a thought on that too. As far as the pay bands go, if you go into a role without knowing what your next role within the company within 2 years could be, your next job up, not getting a raise but getting promoted, and deciding whether or not you have an aspiration for that, then you're absolutely correct, Andy. If you know what the next job up is, and that it's somewhere that you want to be, then there's nothing wrong with getting capped out on a band for 2 years as you pursue that next level. But you have to actually, I mean, that actually has to be something that's part of your entry plan. Right, that you're going in knowing that you're gonna do what it takes to be a badass and get promoted.
That's actually it's a longer term strategic vision and a way of looking at it, right? It's a very Chinese way of looking at things, right? For most of us, dumb Americans, we look at things for in the 6 month, 1 month to 6 month, and possibly a year time frame. But I think a lot of us can, obviously. I want to look at that short-term, near-term return, but also I do want to look at the longer-term investment, right? There's a very great possibility that the organization that I sign on to, or the group that I work with, or whoever I choose to partake, to share myself with, could be a 5-year investment, right? And that's, those are the kind of questions you have to ask during that interview process or that vetting process that basically says, hey, what is my opportunity aspect within this organization? Am I going to have to do the same job for the next 5 years before I can even have an opportunity to move up the chain? Or is there a growth opportunity here that may present itself sooner? Right?
Absolutely. I mean,
if there's not
that. Go ahead, Mike.
If there's not an opportunity to move in the next 2 years, then move out of there to another opportunity. If that's what you want.
Right.
If you want to move to the next level within 2 years, and you're getting the feedback of, oh no, I really don't think that's going to happen. You just keep doing what you're doing. Time to bug.
Gotcha. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I mean, and there's a slight risk there, right? Everything's risk reward. The slight risk is that you get into the job and you think, damn, I really like this job. I don't want to move up. I've been in this job for 18 months and this is perfect for me. I don't want to change. Well, change may happen to you.
I don't know if I've ever said that.
Mm-hmm.
No, and I mean, anybody whose career is at that point, they shouldn't be listening to this podcast. It has nothing to do with them.
Well, in that case, I'm out of here.
No, I mean, because I look at my role that I'm in now, and I definitely can see myself doing this same job for 3 years easily. I also can see branches of the future that include me switching over to product management, or switching over to marketing, or switching over to alliances, or some other business development role. I mean, I could see scenarios where I might consider taking opportunities that way, and I'm kind of open to them right now. I'm really excited.
I know you, Josh. So let me ask you an honest question. You didn't go into this role with the idea that there's an open field of opportunity in front of me, and that there's a bunch of different things that I could do, and let's just see what happens, or there's lots of opportunities and let's pursue them.
It's more of I could see a future with lots of opportunities within the company, that could spur off of the work and the things that I would be delivering and doing within this job, the things that I would be contributing and the things that I would be gaining, and that at some point something may come up that could go lots of different directions, and it may be that I really just like being a cloud solutions architect and I just want to do that for a long time, and I'm cool with that too.
But I mean, okay.
Here's a challenge, Andy. What it comes down to, for me, it's never about the job. It's about the skill sets, right? I never target a job for a title. I never target a job specifically for the role and the responsibilities. It's the skill sets that I currently have and the skill sets that I want to have. And I look for opportunities that allow me to leverage the strong skills that I have now, and I've identified weaknesses that I have, so I look for opportunities where I can build those while also, of course, using my strengths.
No,
But that sounds like you're running a nonprofit, Josh. You're in it.
That's entirely cool, but the other part of it is that the industry is expanding as you are.
That's
and
correct.
There's always the opportunity to say, hey, here's a niche that I can fill for my organization that will be very valuable to me and very valuable to the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Let's, I'll go take advantage. I will go work on this and make it my own. And
Yep.
that's one of the fabulously cool things about growing organizations. And I mean, I kind of learned that at the first big growing organization that I worked at, and I thoroughly took advantage of it at the next one I worked at, and I think you're at the same type of company where things are growing, and it's simply there for you to take.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is going to be what I take advantage of here.
Well, and here's the funny thing about all this is we're having this great discussion, but I think a lot of us have worked at smaller startup companies as well as larger organizations as well, but there really is very little information out there about this particular phase, right? What we're talking about tonight, it's like there's not like there's a book about it, at least not one that I've read, and most of the books I read are at C-Spot run reading level. So maybe something I'm missing, but it is there's a void there, in my viewpoint, of information that can really help or assist somebody makes some of these decisions. Obviously, everybody has to approach it from their own viewpoint, in their own needs and wants, their own hierarchy of what they need to address. But, there really is kind of no right or wrong with a lot of this. I think it's probably one of the reasons I chose this as a topic. I just wanted to get a lot of diverse opinions about what this looks like for a lot of different people, right? And I'll take that silence as.
Yeah, well, the thing about it is, Gabe, is I still think even a book, the title of the book is, do you really know what you want to be when you grow up?
No, that's legit, right? Because someday I will figure out what that is, right? Because I don't, honestly, for me, I always see something different that I want to move into. I get to a point where it's like, I've done this for X number of years. It's just not something I want to do. I'm constantly growing or constantly changing or constantly seeing something different, right? I don't know if I'll ever find out what I want to do when I grow up until I'm like dead.
Until you grow up.
Yeah. The thing is, I probably never plan on ever growing up to begin with, but the thing is, I think that's there's a lot of value in that, right? Because if you're not static, you're not like, I don't want to come in, and for me at least, I don't want to come in and do the same job for 20 years or 30 years. It's just not the way. It's not who I am. It's not where I want to go forward. I think that's probably more of a common trait today than it was 15 to 20 years ago.
Well, I mean, that's precisely why I ditched aerospace engineering. Yep. Right? I got my degree in aerospace engineering, and as I was looking at the work that was out there, I had growing concerns that in order for me to be on projects that would be high profile and interesting and meaningful, I'd be on those projects for a decade plus. Right, and I don't have that kind of attention span. I just don't. In fact, when I was at VCE, somebody had asked me. They're like, can you explain to me like your interest in these other areas in the company? I was like, well, I feel like a dog stuck in a small kennel. Right, I'm only allowed in my little space, and I'm more of a kind of dog that likes a big yard with lots of trees to go sniff around every now and then. Right, I don't have to set up my home at those trees. I just like to be able to go to the tree, sniff around a little bit, provide some some
pee
output.
on it.
Diversity is the spice of life, right?
Right, and not feel that has to be my tree, right? And so that was kind of the way I approached what I was looking for in a new role. I wanted to be able to, influence various areas based on my experience and expertise that could A, help other people, and B, may even make my ability to deliver on my own objectives better, right? And so that was kind of the way I targeted when I was looking for a new role. It's the hard part is you actually got to take time to think about this stuff and what really makes you tick, and a lot of people really suck at that.
Oh, nobody wants to look in the bucket of truth, right?
And I'll
I'm glad somebody got that. I'm glad somebody got that reference.
I want a hot chicks room.
Hey, any job with a hot chicks room and a bucket of truth, I will take both. And that would be the play. It wouldn't even matter if it was like, working for the trash man. If they had that, I'd be down with it, right?
Go ahead, Andy. Rebut away.
Sorry. Go, Andy.
No, I'm sorry. The only thing I was going to say is that the depth of experience you actually get working in a certain industry for a long time, that actually does pay off long term.
Mm-hmm.
And that aerospace might not be the right example, but it kind of shocked me a little bit when I realized that I worked on my first storage product 20 years ago. I mean, you build the experience by doing similar things for long term.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you got to maintain a common thread, right? And that's reasonable. You know, the challenge on the aerospace side for me is that the growth was very vertical, right? And it really just built upon the very last block. It was a very a very vertical growth. There wasn't a whole lot of lateral expansion in some of that stuff. It would have been a lot of doing the same thing over and over again, and that's not the case for everybody. It's just what I was seeing when I was investigating. And now that I'm older, if I looked into it a little deeper, I could probably gain a broader, more mature perspective on it. That's a conversation for another Saturday night. But in the end, I still think I made the absolute best choice, because when I look at the things that I've focused energy on within IT over the last, what is it, 11, 12 years now, there's been some common threads in there in automation and scripting and things like that, but it's always been focused on different technologies and different ways of doing things. So I kind of get a little bit of both.
Well, I don't know about y'all, but I'm feeling a need for some sleep.
Yeah, and you're an hour earlier than some of us.
Yes, for two of you.
Victory. It's behind you. So,
wow, I just totally killed the podcast.
No.
I'm kidding. I was kidding. I don't care.
No, I think this has actually been one of the better ones we've done. I mean, it's a smaller group, but I think all of us involved on tonight's episode have had to face this exact same question here within the last, for some of us it's been within the last year, some others it's been within the last 5 or 6, right? But there's a lot of depth of knowledge within this particular core group that can really address this. So, I think that there's been a lot
for some
of
of us, it's been over the past 3 decades.
Short attention span there.
Yes.
Josh Atwell.
What?
Very nice, Mike.
What did I miss?
Short attention span theater.
You were talking about your short attention span.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Now it's there for everybody to see. So,
where at?
Yeah, it should be just your tagline, Mike. It doesn't need to be like your banner.
No, it's
yeah. Well,
I can't see it.
all
I see is
Of course not, because you don't have enough attention span.
Oh man, I'm never gonna hear the end of this one either.
It's not as bad the media thing because nobody watches this. So,
so are you going to be a VM role, Josh?
I will.
So you can stand under my armpit?
Only if you shower every day.
I normally do. But
So,
I can skip it for you.
Oh no! Please don't skip on my account. The bigger question is everyone going to be at opening acts on Sunday?
Opening acts.
If I'm there, I'm for sure there.
What do you mean opening acts?
So the V Brown Bag guys have gotten together. I'm putting it in the chat. We've gotten together. Oh, actually, that's the VM World Gathering, so I'll screw it. We got together with the VM Underground guys, and so we decided to rent out the Metreon for the full day on Sunday. Yeah, they just... Oh, maybe it hasn't. Never mind.
Damn it, Josh.
No. It's out there. It's on
okay.
there.
Our 0 viewers will spread the word.
Thank you, Gabe.
No. The opening acts it's online, and it's at the City View at Metreon. So what we've done is we got the whole space out from 1 to 4 on Sunday. We're doing just panel discussions. So we'll have panelists on, and it's just kind of open-ended. You come and go as you please, as it's available. We've got stuff set up for audience participation. Like you'll be able to like red card a speaker and go up and dispute whatever they're saying and have a discussion with them. And then we break for the opening of the solutions exchange, and then after a solutions exchange closes down, it's VM Underground Party. So it's kind of, we're tying it together. The sponsors are tied together. There's some incentives for going to opening acts to get you early access to VM Underground. We're trying something new to do some more additional community content.
So, if you're going to do that, I have to plug Vodgeball.
Yes, please do.
Vodgeball is 3 to 5 p.m. on Sunday, so interfering with both the
opening acts and the solutions exchange.
Yes.
Yes.
Challenge, right?
Vodgeball is at the Selma Recreational Center.
Selma Rec.
Selma Rec. I will once again be refereeing, so you can start addressing my PayPal account now.
Andy Banta with a whistle.
That is not at all. I don't know. Andy Banta with a whistle doesn't. I got nothing.
What she said?
It doesn't spark amorous thoughts.
Really?
So, I mean, if not, if that doesn't help, there have been pictures of me hugging Chad Zakich at Vodgeball. So.
There are also been pictures of Ron in the urinals with reserved for Chad Sakic placards in the bathroom.
Yes. Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite pictures.
You hugging Chad is one thing, but Fred kissed Joe Tucci at EMC World. So I think you need to kind of up your game on that one, sir.
Challenge accepted. That was your cue, Andy, for that.
Kneecaps.
Did you say Fred Tucci?
I'm not going to one up that with Tucci.
Good choice.
No, not unless you're doing the Lombardo with Meg Whitman.
That's even more disturbing, actually. Somehow.
You're gonna Snapchat with Anthony Weiner.
Dance.
And we have come full circle.
Yes.
Knew it was going to happen. This was pretty team podcast.
Yeah.
Hey,
we need a little bit of debauchery.
What was his name? Carlos Danger?
Carlos Danger.
Yo, Carlos Danger. Look at my wine corks.
All right.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and shut this one down. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and all two viewers who watched it.
I am so sorry for you all.
I know. Punishment is ongoing. But thank you all.
Thanks, our parents, for watching this show. And
how is it that like we've managed to have
Mom's birthday.
How is it that we managed to have like an Oreo cookie where the cookie part's made out of dirt? Like we start with crap and dirtiness, we have some really good stuff in the middle, and then we end with just crap and dirtiness.
Phrasing?
Because in the beginning we started drinking, and in the end we stopped drinking.
Yes.
And in the middle we were drinking.
I would say
I didn't have that much to drink, so.
I have a man down. Man down.
Did you finish that Blanton's? Jeez.
The Saturday Night Live deep dive.
You not know me, Josh?
Explains it all.
Josh,
there you go.
What's my name?
Kidney damage?
Wait, you told me to never call you Big Daddy in public.
I love it when you call me Papa.
I love it when you, fuck you. Damn it, Gabe, that was my name.
It's my jam, dog. With that said, in the coffee, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. So thanks for watching, everyone. Good night.
Thanks, everybody.